Right there. Trump is dismantling the corrupt education system, but there is something that you guys need to know about what's happening in Illinois that could derail this and actually elevate this whole thing to the Supreme Court. Watch this.
Less than proficient.
Good afternoon, Gary Franchi from the Next News Network outside the White House. The birds are chirping. It's a sunny day. Well, back there, President Trump is taking a sledgehammer to the corrupt education system that's been failing America's children for decades, but something is happening in Illinois that could challenge President Trump's plans. I'll have more on that in a moment, but today, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt made it crystal clear this administration isn't here to reform the system. They're here to dismantle the entire broken bureaucracy and put power back where it belongs with parents, teachers, and local communities. Now let's talk about the disaster that Trump is cleaning up. And it's a big one. We're talking about the Department of Education wasting $3 trillion since 1979. Math and reading scores have collapsed. 60% of fourth graders can't even do math. 70% of eighth graders can't read at grade level. We rank 28th in the world in math. And what are kids learning instead? Gender ideology, climate hysteria, and anti-American propaganda. Well, Donald Trump, he says enough. And today, Leavitt lit the media on fire when she called out the corrupt teachers unions for running a racket that traps kids in failing schools while their own leaders send their children to elite private academies. And when reporters try to spin it, well, she dropped the hammer. Watch this.
Caroline, what do you say to critics of the president's education plan?
Where was their criticism of our nation's failing test scores for the last several decades? The Department of Education was founded in the 1970s, and since then we have spent more than $3 trillion at this federal bureaucracy. What has been the return on that investment for the American taxpayer? Levels that are less than ideal, less than proficient. Our children's test scores are incredibly concerning when it comes to reading rates, literacy rates, math, and science test scores. The numbers prove that, and this president is finally taking much needed action to return education to where it belongs, and that's to educators closest to students in their classrooms in their respective states. We're going to have a great event here later at 4 o'clock. There will be students here, teachers here, parents here, educators, and of course governors from around the country who are very excited about taking on this responsibility to educate our nation's students.
Who's going to run federal student loans?
So the Department of Education will be much smaller than it is today. As you know, the president's executive order directed Linda McMahon to greatly minimize the agency. So when it comes to student loans and Pell Grants, those will still be run out of the Department of Education. But we don't need to be spending more than $3 trillion over the course of a few decades on a department that's clearly failing in its initial intention to educate our students.
So is the federal government going to be spending
going to be
less?
much smaller than it is. Is it not going to be shut down completely? And then I have a second question.
As I said, Pell Grants and student loans will still be run out of the department in Washington, D.C., but the great responsibility of educating our nation's students will return to the states.
And the Department of Education plays a critical role in enforcing civil rights laws that prohibit discrimination. Who's going to do that now?
Any critical functions of the department, such as that, will remain. But again, we're greatly reducing the scale and the size of this department.
Boom, there it is. No more federal cash for failing schools. No more teachers' unions dictating curriculum. No more indoctrination. It's all over. And get this, Trump is pushing for the largest school choice expansion in U.S. history. He wants parents to decide where their kids go to school, not union bosses or D.C. bureaucrats. But here is the problem. Are you ready for this? The leftist tyranny, it persists. Illinois is advancing HB 2827, a bill that would force private schools and homeschooling families to register with the state, submit medical records, and comply with state mandates under threat of fines, jail time, and even child protective services. That's right. If you don't bow to the regime's education demands, they will come after your family. Now, this flies right in the face of long-standing Supreme Court rulings that protect parental rights. And if Trump is returning education to the states, then his administration must ensure that states don't use that power to trample federally recognized rights, especially for homeschooling families in private schools. Now, some radicals who push gender ideology, CRT, and anti-American filth into public schools, they now want to dictate what private and homeschool families do inside their homes. This is about control. This is about crushing school choice and making sure no child escapes the indoctrination machine. And here is the kicker. HB 2827 won't improve education at all, not one bit. It's just a power grab to bring independent families under the state's boot. If Trump's plan is to dismantle federal overreach, then he also needs to stop state-level tyranny, because if they can force your kid into a failing school or punish you for homeschooling, then education freedom is absolutely meaningless. Parents must be in charge, not bureaucrats, not the state, and definitely not the radical left. Trump is fighting back, but he needs to hear from you. Share this, repost this, and it's time to get loud. Homeschooling families, private schools, everyone needs to know exactly what is at stake. I'm Gary Franchi with the Next News Network, outside the White House on this beautiful day, bringing you the news they refuse to cover.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.